On Newshour tonight, I'm joined by Keith Vaaz, who's chairman of the Home Affairs Committee of the House of Commons and British Member of Parliament of Prominence from the Labour Party. Mr. Keith Vaaz, thank you for coming in. Suhel Seth is joining us from London. He's been following the story there as well. With me in the studio is Dalip Tahil, well-known actor, who knows the social circumstances in the UK quite well. Himanshu Chauhan is Anujs Senior from college. Thank you, Himanshu, also for coming in. My first question is to Suruchi Wagh. First of all, Suruchi, our deepest condolences at this horrific act of violence. You were addressing the media some time back. My question to you, Suruchi, is Suruchi, have you been able to get a clear answer from the authorities as to what the motivation of these killers was? Suruchi? Suruchi, can you hear me? Suruchi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, Suruchi, have you been able to get any clear indication from the authorities on what the motivation of the killers was?
Clear? No, for them it's an unprovoked attack as per their statement. Because there was no conversation, no argument, no fight with Anuj. So it seems like an motiveless attack.
So when there is, what does that, does this increase your worries about what this attack was propelled by? You have no idea yet on what this extremely savage attack on Anuj was because of. The authorities have not been able to tell you.
You know what, the worry, concerns, we have lost our kid. I've lost my cousin. And the family shattered. He was 23. He had gone 3 months ago. What matters to us is our son. The concern about, of course we want to know why it was done or why Anuj was chosen. That doesn't mean we were thinking that it would have been somebody else, it would have been better. But so to us the loss is massive, and we are trying to recover ourselves and Anuj's parents out of this. So things like racist attack or hate crime or motiveless attack are not really in our minds. Our minds is how we can see Anuj for one last time. And it's unfortunate there's going to be one last time and he's not even going to speak to us.
Suruchi, I appreciate in your moment of great grief that you're with us today. I really appreciate that. I want to go across next to Keith Vaaz. Mr. Vaaz, this has been described, the police have described this killing as extremely unusual and savage. What does that tell you about the motivation for this completely unprovoked attack?
Well, look, can I start by saying that all of us in the United Kingdom send our deepest condolences to Anuj's family. This is a terrible crime that has shocked the whole community in the United Kingdom, not just the British Indian community. What is absolutely essential is that we get to the bottom of this crime as quickly as possible. And that is why I'm in Manchester today. I'm here to meet with the police and to participate in the vigil that has been arranged for later on this evening. We need to make sure that no stone is left unturned so that we find out precisely what has happened. We want to also send a message to Indian people who wish to study in the UK that this is a safe place, that they need to understand this has been absolutely exceptional. But the parents need the answers to the questions that they have posed, and our job, both in Parliament and the police, is to make sure they get all the information they possibly need.
I completely understand, the line that you're taking today, Mr. Vaaz, and I have no doubt that your government and the British people will do all that they can to remove this sense of aberration. However, Mr. Vaaz, I must underline to you that there are about 40,000 Indian students as of now studying in the United Kingdom, and their families are greatly concerned. And I'm sure you're aware, Mr. Vaaz, that there was a recent report which said that in 45% of racial attacks, the victims are expatriate Indians, who are seen to be soft targets. And that is a genuine concern in this case as well. As Suruchi said, nobody can bring Anuj back, but we have to ensure that there will be no more Anujas in the United Kingdom.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I'm of Indian origin. if this could have been my son, it is something that has to be dealt with. It is not sufficient just to accept what has been given so far. There has to be a thorough report as to what has happened from the moment this incident occurred to the moment of the charging of this person who was charged and remanded today in custody. We need to make sure that all the facts are there, and if this is a racially motivated attack, we need to find out how and why it took place. The police have already designated it as a hate crime. Now that is very serious, so it's not just any other murder that's occurred.
That's right.
This is a murder that has been perpetrated by a hate crime.
Yes.
And I am very concerned to make sure that we find out all the facts, so that when the parents come this week, when they meet me, as I hope that they will, when they meet the police, they are given the information, but also we want to make sure that there are no more Anujes. This must never be allowed to happen again. Not just to Indian students, but to any person of British Indian origin in the United Kingdom.
Mr. Vaaz, I must say this, I appreciate that. But, you know, the issue here is, and before I come to you, Dalip, and to Himanshu, you know, hate crimes are a very broad definition. Hate crimes can include crimes because of race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, class, ethnicity, nationality, age, gender, social status, or political affiliation. What we need to know, because this incident has led to such outrage, and we need to know that here the killers did not know Anuj. Suhel, I want you to draw into this. The killers did not know Anuj, A, and B, there was no attempt at mugging him. There was no theft. So this was simply an act of extreme savagery without any motivation. Suhel, you know, that increases our concern about what this is about.
You're absolutely
exactly
right.
What you and I discussed in 2008 when incidents happened in Australia. There is a certain reality that we must come to terms with, and I'm sure, as Keith Vaaz says, there will be an investigation that will have its own place as time goes by. But there are certain realities. There is a certain sense of resentment, I would imagine, in societies against colored people, as it were. And there the Indians or people of Indian origin, or, you know, people who are colored in that manner, are obvious targets, because there is a deprivation of opportunities, especially when the economy is in the manner it is in England.
Right.
Having said that, I think the response of the English establishment, of the British establishment, and more importantly, Arnab, of the British media has been extremely sensitive and extremely courageous, if I can use that word. Unlike what happened in Australia, there is a definite desire within the British establishment to go into the roots of this. But yes, you're right, to classify it just as a hate crime and then put it in that broad category and then let things be will not stop. And there will be more Anujas that will be slain at the altar of avarice and greed and of economic deprivation for a whole host of people. I think what we also need to recognize is that societies across the world are becoming more and more inclusive rather than becoming more and more embracing of different people, of different origins. Because there is that deprivation of the opportunities for either economic gain or employment. And I think that reality also needs to be factored into any investigation. This is not a murder. This is out of resentment, out of deep hatred, as it were, for the economic deprivation perhaps that has happened. Because as you said, there was no crime in terms of there was nothing stolen, there was no mugging, there were no valuables taken away from this gentleman. So it's obvious that this kind of resentment, which is person neutral, but perhaps not origin neutral, is something that needs to be investigated.
Absolutely. And you see, the Indians are let me draw in Dalip, the Indians are the biggest single largest ethnic community in the UK. And as I just told Mr. Vaaz, they are also the greatest victim of racial attack. Now, this incident of Anuj, Mr. Tahil, cannot be looked away from that backdrop, can it?
Well, at the outset, I have to say that, you know, I'd like to extend my deepest and my heartfelt condolences to the family and to all the loved ones. It's of considerable concern that a person who, you know, who didn't have any sort of, had no previous sort of relationship with the person who attacked him. It's just baffling as to what the motive could have been to just murder someone.
How can we let it go as baffling? You see, and my concern is, and I'm probably being too cynical, Mr. Tahil, but my concern is the moment you say it's a hate crime, that the moment you say it's a bias-motivated crime, you say here is a perpetrator, the perpetrator is a madman, or the perpetrator is a mentally unstable person, and he carries out this attack on for any ostensible reason. I cannot recreate the moment of the crime. Neither can I go into the psychology of the murderer. And my worry is that we are never going to get a complete answer.
Look,
for the way in
you're
which
absolutely
Anuj is
right. I mean, you know, it's the ugly face of prejudice, and if indeed it is a race-motivated crime, then it's absolutely unacceptable. You're quite right. But I mean, it is under investigation, and I know, as difficult as it is to accept that, one has to understand what happened. And I think that I think Britain as a society has always shunned racism, and has been in a constant battle to fight racism at every level in British society.